John Parker never imagined his quiet suburban life would be shattered by his son Alex's terrifying secret, a confession so dark it would turn their world upside down and leave a whole town questioning what they thought they knew. John Parker's life was the kind that people admired quietly: a steady job at the local hardware store, a comfortable home in a peaceful neighborhood, and a family that seemed close-knit and happy. Every morning, he woke early, made coffee, and got ready for work while his wife prepared breakfast for their 2 sons. The family dinners were almost routine, filled with laughter and small talk about school and weekend plans. On the surface, everything looked perfect. But sometimes, perfection hides cracks beneath the surface, cracks too small to notice until they suddenly widen. Over the past few months, John had started to sense something was off with his eldest son, Alex. At first, it was subtle: Alex becoming quieter, more withdrawn, spending hours alone in his room. He stopped playing soccer with his friends and didn't seem interested in the usual teenage hangouts. When John asked him about school or his friends, Alex gave short answers, sometimes avoiding eye contact altogether. John chalked it up to normal teenage mood swings, a phase that would pass with time. Yet, deep down, John couldn't shake a growing unease. He noticed the way Alex's bedroom door stayed closed longer than before. There were muffled sounds sometimes, soft sighs, or whispered words, almost like he was talking to himself. John thought about reaching out more, but every attempt was met with silence or irritation. He worried but tried not to overthink it. After all, teenagers could be unpredictable. One afternoon, while cleaning the house, John entered Alex's room to find it unusually messy. Clothes were strewn across the floor, and the bed was unmade. Something caught his eye: a small folded piece of paper partially hidden beneath a pile of books on the desk. Curiosity nudged him forward. He picked it up and unfolded it carefully. The handwriting was Alex's, but the words were strange, dark, and unsettling. The letter spoke of loneliness, anger, and fear. There were phrases about feeling trapped and wanting to escape a world that didn't understand him. The tone was desperate and confusing, and some lines hinted at deep, troubling thoughts John couldn't ignore. His heart pounded as he read the words. Was this just a teenager's emotional venting, or was it something more serious? John put the letter down and sat quietly for a moment. He felt a heavy weight settle on his chest, a mixture of worry and helplessness. The boy he thought he knew was hiding something far darker than teenage angst. He debated whether to confront Alex right away or give him time to open up on his own. But the letter made it clear that whatever was happening inside Alex's mind was urgent. That night, John couldn't sleep. The image of his son, alone in his room, wrestling with hidden pain, haunted him. The normal sounds of the house, the hum of the refrigerator, the ticking clock, felt unusually loud in the silence. The family's peaceful routine now felt fragile, like a glass ready to shatter with the slightest impact. John decided he needed to pay closer attention. The next day, he watched Alex more carefully, noticed how he avoided certain topics, how he flinched at sudden noises, and how his eyes sometimes looked distant and troubled. There was a tension in the house that hadn't been there before, a silence filled with things unspoken. This was the beginning of a slow unraveling, a quiet warning that something terrible was about to surface. John could feel it, an invisible storm gathering just beyond the horizon, ready to sweep away everything he thought he knew about his son, his family, and himself. The evening air was thick with tension as John sat alone in the living room, the letter still fresh in his mind. He knew he couldn't wait any longer. Something inside him pushed to get answers, to understand what his son was truly going through. The quiet house suddenly felt suffocating, every creak and distant sound amplified in the stillness. His heart hammered in his chest as he approached Alex's room, the closed door a barrier between him and the truth. When John finally spoke Alex's name, there was a pause, then a slow, hesitant opening of the door. Alex's eyes were red-rimmed and hollow, his usual defiance replaced by a strange, almost resigned calm. Without waiting for an invitation, Alex sat down and began to speak, his voice low and trembling. What came next was something John could never have prepared for. Alex's words were chilling. He confessed to something horrific, something that shattered every hope John had ever held about his son's innocence. According to Alex, a classmate, someone he had known and seen almost every day had been lured into the woods nearby. What followed was a sequence of events so dark, so twisted, that John's mind struggled to grasp it all. The details were vague, yet terrifying. A violent encounter, an act born from anger and desperation, and consequences that Alex seemed both terrified of and strangely detached from. John's hands trembled, the weight of the confession pressing down on him like a physical force. Every instinct screamed for him to deny what he was hearing, to tell himself this was some nightmare, a bad dream that would fade come morning. But Alex's eyes told a different story, empty, haunted, and disturbingly honest. The son he had raised was admitting to something unspeakable. Fear flooded John's thoughts. The safety of their family, the trust of their community, even the future of his son, all now fragile threads hanging by a whisper. Questions raced through his mind. How could Alex do this? Why hadn't he shown any sign before? Was this a cry for help or something darker? And most terrifying of all, what would happen now? John knew he couldn't keep this secret. The law demanded action, but so did his conscience. Calling the police meant exposing Alex to consequences that might destroy his life. Staying silent would betray the victim and the truth. The weight of his decision was unbearable, crushing him with every passing second. The next day, John made the hardest phone call of his life. As the authorities arrived, the atmosphere in the house shifted, thick with fear and uncertainty. Officers began their investigation, and John watched helplessly as Alex was taken away for questioning. The boy who had been so quiet, so withdrawn, now faced a reality far harsher than anyone in the family had imagined. The community soon learned of the incident, and whispers turned into headlines. Everyone was shocked. No one expected such violence from a quiet teenager in their peaceful town. But the police search revealed even more disturbing findings. Evidence from the woods matched Alex's confession, but some pieces didn't fit. It hinted at a complexity beyond what John had imagined, something that suggested Alex might not be the only one involved. As the investigation unfolded, John's world spiraled. The son he had thought he knew was slipping further away, replaced by someone unrecognizable. The father who had once felt proud and secure now faced horror and confusion, caught in a nightmare with no clear end. What began as a simple letter had opened a door to a darkness John could never have predicted. The days following Alex's confession felt like a blur of sirens, questions, and harsh realities. As the police delved deeper into the case, it became clear that the situation was far more complicated than a single act of violence by a troubled teenager. What started as a straightforward investigation slowly revealed layers of secrets and lies tangled within the small community. The missing classmate Emma Carter had been a quiet, well-liked girl at school. Her disappearance had shocked everyone once it was confirmed, but until Alex's confession, no one suspected foul play. Now, police combed through the woods where Alex claimed the incident occurred, uncovering fragments of clothing and personal belongings. The physical evidence matched parts of Alex's story, but there were inconsistencies that troubled the investigators. Witnesses began coming forward with new information. Some described strange tensions between Emma and other students, while others mentioned secret meetings and whispered threats. It became clear that Emma's disappearance was not an isolated event, but part of a web of conflicts fueled by jealousy and long-held grudges. Friends turned into enemies, and beneath the surface of the town's friendly facade, rivalries festered. As the police pieced together the timeline, it emerged that Alex was not acting alone. Another name surfaced: Jason, a fellow student known for his aggressive behavior and troubled past. Jason's involvement added another layer of complexity. It seemed that the crime was born out of a darker plan, a mix of peer pressure, fear, and resentment that spiraled out of control. For John, each new revelation was a fresh blow. The boy he had raised was no longer just a scared teenager. He was part of something far bigger and more dangerous. The community began to fracture as rumors spread. Neighbors whispered behind closed doors, and parents worried about the safety of their own children. The idyllic town was losing its innocence, replaced by suspicion and fear. The media descended on the story, hungry for every detail. Headlines painted Alex as both a victim of circumstance and a potential monster, and John found himself in an impossible position, fighting to protect his son while grappling with the horror of what had happened. Friends and family offered support, but also kept a cautious distance, unsure how to reconcile the Parker family's image with the grim reality. In the courtroom, evidence was laid bare. Texts, photos, and witness testimonies exposing a secret world Alex had hidden from everyone. The details painted a picture of a young boy caught between loyalty and guilt, pressured into choices no one should have to make. But the legal battle was only one part of the story. The emotional wounds ran deeper, splitting families and friendships, leaving scars that might never heal. John often found himself sitting alone in his living room, replaying memories of better days. He wondered when the cracks first appeared, what signs he had missed, and if there was any way to turn back time. The father who once felt in control was now a man haunted by doubt and sorrow, trapped in a nightmare he couldn't wake from. As the investigation continued, it became clear that the truth was not black and white. It was messy, painful, and filled with unexpected twists. The town's darkest secrets had been exposed, and everyone would have to live with the consequences. For John and his family, the road ahead was uncertain, marked by the heavy burden of a crime that had changed everything. John's world had turned upside down, and with each passing day, the weight of his son's actions pressed harder on his heart. The father who once found comfort in routine now faced an unbearable torment. He was caught in a terrible struggle between love for his son and the horror of what Alex had confessed to doing. It was a battle that left him restless, haunted, and utterly alone. Every moment, John wrestled with conflicting emotions. How could the boy he raised commit such a dark act? Was Alex simply a troubled teenager overwhelmed by forces beyond his control? Or was there something deeper, more dangerous lurking beneath the surface? These questions swirled endlessly in John's mind, leaving him sleepless and anxious. The house felt colder now, shadows stretching longer into every corner, as if the past itself had taken residence there. John found himself trapped in a constant state of fear. Fear for his son's future, fear of the community's judgment, and fear of the unknown. Friends and neighbors, once warm and familiar, now cast suspicious glances or whispered behind closed doors. John felt their eyes on him, questioning his parenting, wondering how he could have missed the signs. The support he had expected from those around him was replaced by distance and silence. At the same time, John's love for Alex remained unshaken, a stubborn flame flickering in the darkness. He saw moments of the boy he once knew, the shy smile, the gentle heart hidden beneath layers of pain. But those glimpses were fleeting, overshadowed by the terrifying reality of the confession and the investigation. John wondered if he truly knew his son at all, or if the years of hidden struggles had created a stranger living under his roof. The courtroom battles added to his torment. Each hearing was a painful reminder of what was at stake. John sat through testimonies that revealed more than just the facts. They exposed raw emotions, betrayal, and fractured relationships. Seeing Alex in that sterile room, distant and withdrawn, broke John's heart in ways words could not describe. He longed to reach through the barriers and bring his son back from the edge of despair. John also faced impossible choices. Should he stand firmly by Alex, supporting him no matter what, or accept the harsh consequences and condemn the actions? Protecting Alex might mean shielding him from justice. Exposing the truth might destroy the family forever. Every decision felt like a betrayal, every action a step into deeper darkness. At night, John often sat by the window, staring into the blackness outside, searching for answers in the quiet. Memories of better times played in his mind: family, vacations, birthday parties, simple moments of happiness now overshadowed by tragedy. The man who had once dreamed of a peaceful life now faced a future filled with uncertainty and pain. Despite everything, John clung to hope. Hope that his son could find redemption, that the truth might bring healing, and that somehow his family could survive the storm. But deep down, he knew the road ahead would be long and fraught with heartbreak. The father's torment was far from over. It was only beginning. In this cruel new reality, John Parker was a man broken, but still standing. A father trying to hold on to love amid the ruins of a nightmare. As the investigation unfolded, the full scope of the tragedy began to emerge, revealing a tangled web far more complex than anyone had imagined. The truth was no longer just about a single moment of violence or a single act of betrayal. It was a story of pain, manipulation, and deep fractures within the community and the family itself. Alex's role, once thought to be that of a lone, troubled teen, now appeared intertwined with others who had hidden motives. The involvement of Jason, the aggressive student, brought new questions about influence and coercion. It seemed that Alex had been caught in a dangerous spiral, pushed and pulled by forces beyond his control. But the story didn't stop there. Further investigation uncovered family secrets and long-standing tensions that no one had spoken about openly. Resentments that shaped actions and decisions in dark ways. For John, the truth was a heavy burden. Each new fact was a fresh wound, cutting deeper into the hope he clung to. The family's private struggles were now laid bare for all to see, and the public attention was relentless. The media portrayed the case as a tragedy with no simple answers, fueling fear and speculation in the town. The Parker name became both infamous and pitied, a symbol of shattered trust and broken lives. The courtroom became a battleground where painful truths surfaced. Witnesses revealed moments of cruelty and kindness, lies and confessions, all tangled together in a difficult search for justice. Alex's defense showed a boy overwhelmed by circumstance, while the prosecution painted a harsher picture of responsibility and consequence. The judge and jury faced a difficult task: how to weigh youth and pressure against the gravity of the crime. Outside the courtroom, the community struggled to heal. Families held private conversations about their own children, questioning what they really knew. Schools implemented new policies and support systems, trying to prevent another tragedy. But the damage was done. The innocence of the town had been shattered, replaced by a cautious, wary atmosphere. John's home, once a place of comfort, now felt like a reminder of everything lost. The silence was heavy, filled with things left unsaid and dreams unfulfilled. He spent hours reflecting on the past, wondering if any sign could have warned him, any action could have changed the outcome, but some questions had no answers. In the quiet moments, John found strength in unexpected places. Small gestures from friends who stayed, moments of kindness from strangers, and the faint hope that healing could begin. He focused on the family, members who remained, on rebuilding what was left. The path was uncertain, but giving up was not an option. The story of Alex Parker and the crime he confessed to would echo in the town for years to come. It was a painful reminder of how quickly life can unravel and how hidden darkness can grow even in the brightest places. For John Parker, the journey through despair was far from over, but in the depths of tragedy, he learned the difficult truth about forgiveness, resilience, and the hope for a better tomorrow. Though forever changed, the family held on, determined to face whatever came next. The nightmare had revealed the harshest realities, but also the fragile strength of love trying to survive against all odds.